All right, so with any question that you're doing, always start with what the question's asking you. And this is asking you how many teaspoons you will need to administer. So that should already also tell you if you're administering teaspoons that you're administering a dose. And since you're administering a dose, this is going to be desired over half. So we're going to take our desired dose, which is 480 milligrams, and we're going to put it over what we have on hand, which is 240 per 5 ml. Going to go to the whiteboard. So we have 240 per 5 ml. Our order is 480. Milligrams are going to cross out here, and you'll be left with mLs. So you're just going to do the math there. Whoa, my calculator didn't get that one right. So let's do it again. So you should have gotten 2 mLs, correct? And then you're going to multiply that times the 5.
Give you 10 mLs, and then.
I mean, you should have gotten 2 here. That wouldn't have mLs next to it. This wouldn't. It would just be 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't want to confuse anybody. I want to make sure you understand. All right. So then you get 10 mLs. Okay. And then the next step is to equal 1 teaspoon. Okay. 1 teaspoon
is 5 mL.
Equals 5 mLs. Therefore, 10 divided by 5 equals 2 teaspoons. Okay. But one thing I always try to remember is teaspoons does not have a B in it. Tablespoons does. Okay. So since there is a B in tablespoons, that means there'll be more mLs in a tablespoon. So a tablespoon is equal to 15. So those two things you have to know. All right. If you don't, you're going to get these wrong.
Ms. Loesch, can I ask you a question? You see how in the question it had asked to round to the nearest 10. That's just to throw us off, right?
It's not to throw you off. And honestly, I didn't even realize that I put that in there because this might be a question that I took off of another site.
Okay.
And so it was probably already balanced into the question. However, the way nursing math works is you may see this on a multitude of questions because people typically will just throw this on to certain questions. But you don't round to the nearest 10th unless you need to round to the nearest 10th. All right, but I'll fix that on those questions. I got to try to go back and look at the questions because I was just trying to get the math up. And since I'm writing the majority of the questions along with some of your instructors, and then we're going to have to go back and just kind of double check some of these. But again, if you got the right calculation, just do your math twice. Don't change your answer according to what the question's asking you. Because if the question was written wrong or incorrectly, if you know the formula, stick to your formula. Okay? Because if for some reason the question is written wrong, like in this one, it's not really wrong. It's just saying round it to the nearest 10th. But if you don't have a 10th, you can't round it to the 10th.
Yeah.
All right. So in that case, the answer still would not change here. Okay. The answer is what the answer is.
Person sauna in my home. That's a great question. I would love to tell you. I used to go to the gym for the sole purpose.
Okay, there's the math there again. And we just did it on the whiteboard, but I'm just showing you on the test.
Followed by an
Okay. But these are good things that you're asking questions. So like for a question like this, I'll try to make sure that I don't put this on there, okay?
You know what?
But again, if you see that on a question, If it's a whole number, you just leave it at a whole number. You don't round it to the
That is
nearest
like an
tenth to make it to
international
the
sport.
nearest
I
tenth.
do not want
Whoever's
to,
playing something
whether
in
I
the
can
background,
or I
can
I
you
know,
mute
right?
yourself,
Yeah.
please? Or turn it off?
Yeah, you can just.
Appreciate that, because I'm recording so that you guys can listen to this later. And if
No.
there's noise in the background, it's going to affect the quality.
Thank you.
All right, let's look at number 2. Now, I know you guys probably know how to basically do these, but I still want to lay it out so that you understand it. Okay? Again, read what the question's asking you, and it's asking you how many tablets you're going to get. Okay? The problem is what your order is in a different form or a different strength actually than what you have on hand. Okay? So I just want to make sure, even though this is a fairly simple conversion, that you know how the conversion table works. Right? So I always keep this memorized to my brain. You see the whiteboard?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, anytime I'm going to the right, I'm going to act like a rabbit and multiply. Anytime I'm going to the left, I'm losing the love of my life. I'm going to need to divide. All right, and that's how I remember.
Going to the left. Here.
You have to have some way to remember it. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's not my method, so what? Does it work for you? Okay, so you had 1.5 grams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ordered. And your order is 750 milligrams. Let me just go back and look at the order real quick to make sure I'm doing the right numbers. All right, so we have 1.5 grams and we have 750 milligrams per tablet. All right, so now you just do the math. All right, some of you might like to move the decimal, and that's okay. If I have to move the decimal on this, I'm going to do the same thing. So if I'm going to the right, which I am, if I'm going from grams to milligrams, I'm going to move the decimal 3 places. Okay, so that should give me 1,500 milligrams. Now, if you take 1.5 and multiply it by 1,000, does it give you 1,500?
Yes.
Okay, so what works for you? What clicks in your brain so that when you get on the test, you don't get all freaked out? All right. Another thing I want to tell you too about the test, make sure when you're in the test that you use the friendly version of the calculator and use your mouse to manipulate the calculator. Do not use the number keys on the computer. So use your mouse to manipulate the calculator and make sure you're in friendly mode.
Miss Loach, talking about the calculator on the computer, I get flustered very easily with it. And I don't use the keypad. If I do 2 times 2 times, I probably get 2 different answers. So it throws me off so often, the computer calculator.
Well, unfortunately, that's the calculator you have to use. They won't grant us permission to use a separate calculator, so you're going to have to find a way to get well versed with it. Again, make sure you're in friendly mode. If you have to do the calculations separate, then you'll have to write them down. I am working on trying to get it okay for you guys to use scrap paper. All right, as opposed to the boards.
Thank you.
But if that gets approved, then you guys would just have to turn that scrap paper in when you're done with the testing.
Okay.
So that's something that I'm looking into, and also it actually might help us analyze like what you're actually doing wrong during the test as well. So I'm working on that. All right, so we had 1.5 grams. We converted that to the 1,500. All right, so now we have 1,500 milligrams. divided by 750. So that should give us 2 tabs, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. I know you guys have a sheet with some practice math on it too, right?
yes.
All right, we can look at some of those too, just so we know that you're on the page where you need to be. But I write all the tests, and all the tests that you get are going to be just like this. The difference is going to be, it might be a little bit different question, but the math is going to all be the same.
Question, are you gonna give like the I know the drop per minute's gonna be there. How about what I really do need help with is the one that it will give you the time and tell you at this point this was infused. At
Yes.
what time would it be
Yes.
complete?
We're going to go over a couple of those today.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so the next one is this one. All right, so you have 60 mLs ordered and you have to administer in tablespoons. So how many tablespoons would you give for this client? So again, this goes back to what we just talked about. First thing you have to do here is determine how many mLs in a tablespoon, right?
15.
Which is 15. So you're just going to take your 60 there and divide it by 15.
So 4 tablespoon?
I'm sorry?
Is it 4 tablespoon?
Correct. All right, so 1 tablespoon equals 15. And then we just had 60 divided by 15 equals 4 tablespoons. All right, we already went over the teaspoon one, so I'm going to skip this one. We can go back to it later if you guys need to. All right, how about this next one? All right, this says how many mLs will you administer per dose? So this was just what type of formula? Why are you reading that part? Did you need to read that part to answer that question? Nurse?
We gotta convert. I'm gonna say, then we have to convert.
No, I asked you what's the formula. I said, how many mLs will you administer per dose? As soon as you read that, what is your formula?
Oh, it's
It's-
those.
Dose over what available, dose over whatever available. Our
Desired over half.
Desired
Over
over half.
half.
And I just
Times
want to get you
2
guys
mL.
familiar with, when you read the question, deciding what the formula is, because that's key.
Yeah.
As soon as you read that question, and if you read it from the top, the healthcare provider orders a patient, that doesn't tell you how to set the problem up. But this statement right here, you can see the question, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This statement right here tells you how to set the problem up.
How many mL?
Okay, so this is a desired over half. So your desired dose is what?
0.8.
8 says,
Okay, and what do you have on hand?
4,000.
4,000 mcg.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have 2 different strengths here.
You gotta
So again, that's why I left that little graph. You go back to your graph. Which one do you want to convert?
mg
Now,
to
for me,
mcg.
it doesn't.
the
This is a
decimal.
personal question, okay? This isn't an everybody question. This is a personal question. Which one do you want to convert? Because
I
not
think
everybody's brain works the same. So for
Mhm.
me, I would get rid of the decimal, but that might not be for you. Okay, so what do you want to convert? What is easier for you to remember when you get on the test and you are stressed out? I'm going to get rid of this, okay? And I'm going to the right, so I'm just going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3, which should give me 800 milligrams. micrograms, I'm sorry. I'm gonna still multiply by 1,000 because I just want to make sure I got the right answer. All right, and then I can divide that now by my 400. 4,000, if I could only keep my brain straight this morning. And I got 0.4. Okay, and it's
You said you got
already in the nearest tenth, right? Because this is right here is in a tenth. Go ahead.
I got it.
Yep.
I got it. You multiplied it by the 2 ml. That's why you got 0.4.
Correct. So that's your vehicle. Whatever those mLs are, that's your vehicle, right? You're putting it in normal saline or something to bring it into the body. And that may be how you put it in LPN school, where you take your dose and you multiply it times your vehicle. All right, we go with that one?
Yes, now my question was, I don't know if I'm doing it wrong or is that the right way? Is that okay to do it that way? As far as the milliliters, I've been dividing it, like dealing
I'm
with
not
it
sure what
first.
you're saying.
Can you go back to the screen? I can't see the question. Okay, so,
We're looking at number 5.
right, so the 400 mcgs divided by the 2, I've been doing it that way, and that's how I got the 200. So I took the 0.8 and divided the 200.
And what'd you get?
0.4.
So you're doing a dimensional analysis or a proportio ratio is what you're doing. It's a different formula, but it
okay.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Are you getting are your questions right?
Yeah, I'm getting them right.
Okay, if you're getting all your questions right, it doesn't matter because some people use dimensional analysis, some people use proportional ratio. I
Mhm.
use formula. Okay. So you know, we all do it differently. As long as you get the right answer, that's what matters. Do you know how to set it up every time? Are you getting the right answer every time? Because if that's not happening, then your formula may not be effective or your thought process.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next one. So let's see if you guys can do this one on your own. This is the same type of question. I always start here. Again, if you start here, it tells you how to set the problem up. Then you can still go back and read the problem. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to do it, and then I'll do it on the board. Everybody got their numbers out?
Is it 0.5?
Did everybody have their numbers out to do the calculation?
Yes. Mhm.
You're welcome.
That's your answer. If that's what you got, you're right. Anybody have a problem with that?
So we were supposed to move the decimal twice, right?
Yes. Well, 3 times you move it, or you're going to multiply by 1,000, one or the other.
3 times. Okay.
Yeah, it's always 3 times.
I can.
All right, let it cool down.
Okay, what's your formula for this? What is this?
Drop.
Drop factor. So what's your formula?
It is
volume of time.
Total volume over total time in minutes
Mhm.
times
The drop factor. Well, the
times the
15.
drop factor. Always a whole number. That should be your formula right there. That whole thing I just said. Because I should never really have to put this here, round to the nearest whole number. That should be a given. That's an automatic. If you're doing a drop factor, there's no other way you can multiply it. It has to be a whole number. So your formula should always be total volume over total time in minutes times your drop factor. Always a whole number. So our total volume is what? And when you're looking for volume, okay, you're always looking for something that has ml next to it. Or it might have liters. In that case, you would convert it to mLs. So what's your volume?
1,500.
Okay, and what's your time?
24 hours.
24 hours, and we're going to multiply that times 60 for a total of 1440 minutes, right?
40, yes.
Okay, and then our drip factor is 15.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
16.
Hey, Matt, something didn't calculate right on my end again. Okay, I'm writing this whole number out for a reason, okay? So this number here is the nearest 1,000th. This is the nearest 100th. And this is the nearest 10th. This is your whole number. Okay? So when you're rounding to a whole number, this dictates. So what would your whole number here be?
16.
16. Okay? If you were rounding to the nearest 10th, this too is going to dictate. So if you were rounding to the nearest 10th, what would happen with that 6?
It becomes
It will stay the same.
It will stay the same. Okay? And if you're rounding to the nearest 100th, this 5 is going to determine what that 2 does. So what would happen with that 2?
become a
It turns
three.
to
Change to 3.
It would become a 3. So if I said rounded to the nearest 100th, this would be 15.63. Okay?
Okay.
Now, a lot of times it matters that you know the equipment, okay? And for you guys, it doesn't seem like that you either use the equipment a lot or you're not that familiar with it. You have to know, like an IV pump, what can you set that to? Okay, you can set it to a whole number, you can set it to the nearest 10th, you can set it to the nearest 100. All right. And in critical care and in pediatric dosing, we don't always round up because otherwise we'd be overdosing the patient. Now this is another drop factor. What's the formula? You know it's a drop factor because if you read it from here like you should, it tells you right there how many drops will the patient receive.
That'll be volume over time in minutes.
What else?
Times the drop factor.
What else?
Convert.
Always what?
You gotta
Always change the letter. The volume should be in ml.
Let's go back. You got to get this formula in your brain. Total volume over total time in minutes times the drop factor, always a whole number. You need to commit that to your brain, because if you don't commit that to your brain and somebody doesn't tell you to round it to the nearest number, you're not going to do it. So commit it to your brain as part of the formula. I behoove you to do that. Because if I don't have this on there, rounded to the nearest whole number, and you don't, it's wrong. Okay? You could argue with me all day, but it's wrong because that's part of the formula. And I expect you as a nurse to know that because I'm teaching it to you right now.
So, Ms. Loesch,
Yes.
anytime we see questions that says to find the GTT, it will always be in whole numbers.
This question says what?
round to the
Say
whole.
just find the GTT?
No.
What's the question say?
How many GTT
How
per
many
minute?
GTTs per minute? Okay? So remember that, because just because you see GTT in the sentence doesn't mean that. There are other GTT problems that calculate 2 mLs per hour. So I don't want to confuse you here. All right? That rule applies to drops per minute only. All right?
Okay.
All right. See if you can do this one. So what's your volume here?
1,000,
1,000.
And your time?
6 hours,
6 hours.
360.
60,
Okay. And then your drop factor is 10.
it's 10.
Says 28.
Yeah,
28.
I got 28.
Oh, hold on. 1,000. Why am I getting 2.8?
Give you time.
Check your calculator. Did you multiply it by 10?
It's still giving me 2.77778.
So it was 1,000 divided by 360
60. Yep.
times 10, correct?
Oh,
1,000 divided by 360 should have gave you 2.777. You leave everything in the calculator.
gotcha.
Multiply it by 10.
Gotcha.
And that gave you 27.7, which rounds up to
28.
28. Good. Okay, here's the next one.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is asking you when the IV will be completed. So that means it wants to know what time. Okay. So in order for you to determine what time it's going to be completed, you have to determine how many hours it's running at. So when you're determining how many hours it's running at, you're going to need your total volume, which is 813. The rate that it's infusing at, which is 125, and it's currently 0830. So take those numbers, write them down, and I'm going to go to the whiteboard. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is take our total volume, which is 813, And we're dividing it by the rate that it's running per hour, which is 125, and that's going to tell us how many hours that it's running over.
6.5 hours.
Okay, everybody good with that? 6.5 hours?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's 8:30, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that 8:30 to 12:30 is 4 hours, right?
Mhm.
And this is going 6.5. So another 2 hours would be 2:30, right?
Mhm.
And then another half hour would be 3 p.m. 3 p.m. in military time is 1500, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Everybody go with me there?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so there it is on paper also so that you could see it.
Mhm.
All right, number 10. I accidentally left the answer up there, but that's okay because can you get to the answer? That's the question.
Mhm.
All right. So again, it's asking you for the completion time. So what do you need from this statement? The first thing you need is your total volume, which is what?
800.
It's not 800.
375
Right. Why is it not 800? Because
because
the
it
bag was started
infused.
at 0600, but
Mm.
it infiltrated. And when it infiltrated, there was only 375 left.
Oh.
Hours.
Okay. So you have 375 now, and it's going at a rate of 75 per hour. So those you need, and then it was restarted at 9:30. So you have 375 divided by 75, and you're going to first calculate the number of hours.
That's 5 hours.
Okay. So 375 divided by 5, you said was 5 hours. So let's put that up there. It was what? Oh, 9:30. Is that what time it was?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 9:30 to 12:30 is 3 hours, right? That leaves you 2 more hours. So that should be 14:30 then, right?
Yeah. Ms. Loesch, can I ask a question?
Yes.
All right. What would be the formula for us to remember for this to stick into our head? You know how you said when we get the regular doctor's order over desire, and then we have the total volume over the
Time.
what would we use to remember this? Like we have to.
Well, this is a 2-step part, but to start with, you have to take your volume, your total volume that you have remaining over your rate per hour. Volume over rate. To calculate the amount of hours. And then you subtract your hours, add the hours onto the new start time. Because if it started at 5:30, then you have to add 5 hours to that, right?
Mhm.
So that would be your actual formula is remaining volume over rate per hour
Mhm.
to calculate total number of hours for completion. And then add the total number of hours to the new start time.
Thank you.
All right, so now this next question is asking you to calculate the infusion rate here. And the only thing that you have in the problem is your volume and your time. Okay, so when you see that, you don't have anything to put over anything. There's no desired dose. There's no supply on hand here, right?
Mhm.
So this is just going to be milliliters divided by total number of hours. And your clue is kind of right here, but also the fact that you don't have, because that's milliliters divided by hour, right? Your clue is you don't have a desired dose and you don't have something on hand to put that desired dose over. It's just telling you that you have in order to start this Vanco. All right, but all in all, this is asking you to calculate the rate, and your rate is going to be mLs per hour. So what's your total mLs here?
250,
Yeah,
Okay, and what's your time?
30 minutes.
90.
Oh, 90, I'm sorry, 90 minutes.
Okay, but remember that you're doing mLs per hour. So if your time's already in hours, don't convert it to minutes here. Now, if
Okay.
your time is in minutes here, you'll need to convert it to hours. So let me just show you. So we have 250 over 1.5 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's because it's asking for mLs per hour and everything is already in that format, I would personally leave it in that format. And you have 1.5 hours here. Okay, so 250 divided by 1.5 gives you 166.6, and it said rounded to a whole number, so that would be what?
167.
167. But let's just say it was in 90 minutes instead of 1.5 hours. The problem here is, okay, you're not going to end up with mLs per hour here, so you have to convert. So you would have to multiply this by 60 in order to get the same answer. So try it. You're still going to get 167, but only if you multiply it by 60, because here your time is in minutes, and if it's not in hours, then you have to do this conversion. But do the 250 divided by 90 times 60, you're still going to get 166.6 or 167. Did you?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you do those. If it's asking you for mLs per hour and you have minutes, you have to convert right here. That's your conversion. If it's already in hours, no conversion necessary. You just put the 250 over the number of hours.
Okay. Got it.
And here's one exactly like that. Okay, so now what's the formula here? It's asking you to calculate the rate. You don't have anything on hand. So here you're going to put mLs divided by hours, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what numbers do you need out of here?
100.
100 over 45 minutes.
Okay, good.
Then we'll multiply it by 60 because it's in
Correct.
minutes.
Correct.
That'll give us 133 minutes.
Bam. It's really not hard math. You just have to know the formulas.
The formulas, yeah. So once you have minutes, you use minutes. Once you have hours, you use hours.
Once you have hours, you leave it. Once you have minutes, you multiply it by 60.
60.
This is what you have to look at, guys, because
Yeah.
this is what your answer has to end up in.
Okay.
Gotcha.
It has to end up in mLs per hour.
Hour.
So that tells you that you have to convert this to an hourly rate. Okay, you have to be able to see that when you read the question. Just like when you look at a question and this is milligrams up here, but if you had another calculation at the bottom that said micrograms, you have to look at that, right? You know you have to convert there. All right, next one we're doing is number 13. All right, and this is asking how much time is left for the infusion. Okay? So on this one,
Miss
you have
Loesch, Miss
1,500.
Loesch, can you give us a few minutes to try this before you solve it for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
And the top number, I'm sorry, number 12, was that, we supposed to have rounded that off, right?
Well, it tells you right there, rounded to the nearest tenth. Now,
Yeah.
normally I did give you some IVs to round to a whole number, okay? Just because I want to see if you're reading.
Right.
But typically you don't round up IVs. Usually they go to the nearest tenth or the nearest 100. Sometimes we do round them up, but remember, when you're rounding up, you're giving the client more medication than what is actually ordered. So if you're doing that consecutively over time, you could actually make the patient toxic.
Okay.
So that's what you have to think about when you're rounding stuff up. But we're trying to just teach you to read and follow the rounding rules.
Okay. Got it.
So that's 23.
All right, so what y'all get?
21? Was it 21 ml an hour?
No. First of all, it's not
I
asking
have
you for
7.
mls per hour.
Asking
What's
for
it
hours.
asking you?
What time is left?
Time remaining.
How much time is left for the IV to infuse? So how do you set this up?
Is it 1500 over 65?
Why would it be
I think it's
1,500? How much fluid
480.
do you have?
480.
Oh shoot. It's
Yes.
480.
Yes.
I got 7.4.
Perfect.
I did too.
So it's not the 50 because
7.38.
All right, so let me just go to the whiteboard.
Yes, please go to the whiteboard, Ms. Loesch.
Remaining.
So you had 480 mLs left, okay?
Mhm.
And it was asking you for how long, how much time left.
Mhm.
So you have 480 left. You're going to divide that by 65. That gave you 7.38.
Stop. Please stop.
All this. That's what it gave you, right?
Yes.
Okay, you rounded to the nearest tenth. So what are you going to use to round it?
Yeah, I understand.
What number? What number are you using to round it with?
8.
8. Thank you. Any questions on that?
No, now I'm good. I don't know. I have to be
Okay.
careful when I read. Question.
All right, number 14. Again, this is asking us how many mLs will you administer? So if you notice in this question, the difference between this one and some of the other ones you looked at, when it's asking how many mLs you will administer per hour, this is a dose, okay? And how do you know it's a dose? Look at what you have in the question. You have a supply on hand, right?
Mhm.
And you have a desired dose ordered. So the things you need to solve this problem are the patient's weight, which is what?
98 pounds.
8 pounds.
Okay. The ordered dose, which is what?
500 milligrams.
The actual ordered dose here is what you have per kilogram per hour.
Oh, it's
okay?
5 milligrams. 5
So your
milligrams.
ordered dose is 5 milligrams
5
per
milligrams.
kilogram per hour. All right, and your supply on hand is 500 milligrams per 100 ml. Let's go to the whiteboard. Now, when you do these, you want to leave everything in the calculator, okay? So I start with my weight, which is 98. I divide that, so bring it to kilograms.
So it's 45, 44.5.
45 kilograms.
4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is your ordered dose there. That's what the doctor ordered, 44.5. Well, that's your weight. I'm sorry. You have to take that times your 5, okay? Because it's 5 milligrams
Oh, let's see. Hold on.
per kilogram, right? So you're gonna multiply that times 5.
Camera. 4.5 times 5.
And that's your desired dose, 222.72. Leave that whole number in your calculator, but I'm just putting the number here to show you that that's infinity, okay? So that was your answer once you did your weight, converted it to kilograms, and then multiplied it by the 5 milligrams. Okay?
Mine's I got 222.5,
Me too.
not 0.72. 73.
Well, I don't know. Go back and look at your calculator, clear everything. I put 98 divided by 2.2, and that gave me, did you leave the whole number in when you got to 44.54?
I
Yes.
actually cleared it and just put 44.5 times.
But I told you not to do that.
Not to clear it. No, don't clear.
Yeah, don't clear the calculator. That's going to give you a wrong answer.
Okay.
Okay, so leave that whole number in there. And remember, I said I'm putting the line under it just to show you that we're using the whole number.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead and take that whole number now times 5. And that
Okay.
should give you
222.72.
222.72. Leave that whole number in now.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
And then what we have is 500 per 100. So we're just going to put that over that.
Mm-hmm. So put that over the 500 per 100.
Now, remember, both of these are milligrams, right?
Yes.
So that's going to cross out. This is milligrams per hour, actually. That's going to cross out, okay? And then we're left with mLs per hour. Do you see that? Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Because remember, you had 5 milligrams per kilogram per hour ordered.
Uh-huh.
So this becomes 222.72 milligrams per hour. And the milligrams crosses out on the bottom and the top, and you're left with mLs per hour. All right. So now you're going to divide that whole number, that 222, by the 500,
The total dose.
and then multiply it times 100.
100 is the ml.
And that should give you
quantity.
44.54. Okay. Again, it's infinity. It's riding out. But you're going to round it to the nearest 10. So that would give you 44.5 milliliters per hour.
Can we do another one of those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I need. Oh my gosh, I need practice with this one.
All right. You want to try it on your own first?
Yes, please.
Okay. So remember what you need to take out of the statement. Take that out first and then work the math.
Okay.
you go back to the.
Okay, I'm going to the board now to work it out.
That's 75. Is it 21?
That's what I got.
Yes.
No.
Ooh, you can get some more to practice with. Yep. That feels good.
Okay, it said rounded to the nearest whole number, so let's see what the answer was on your test. 21. Bam, rock stars. Not that hard, but it's just knowing the math.
Mm.
If you know the steps, you're golden.
Yes. So this one.
All right, that was it for that was on here. Now, what other questions? Any other questions you guys have?
Yes, last night we were doing a couple questions since we had the platform. And
Okay.
one of the questions was, oh gosh, what's that?
You were
It
doing it
was
from
on-
one of the practice questions?
Yes, it was it's the
Which-
physician, sorry.
Was it from the winter one or from,
The one Miss Brown sent.
I know, but she sent you two, right?
Right, the one with the 25 questions.
I think that was the winter one. Let me see.
We were done with 5, and what was the other one?
Yeah, because that one was only 5. Let me see if I can find the winter one. Let me see if I can pull it up from another spot.
5,
Number 5.
yes, please.
Okay. This is just really a desired over half.
Right, but is that the one? Yeah, but it said 0.5 over, this is the way we did it. 0.5 milligrams per hour divided by 10 milligrams times 100 milliliters. And then we got 5 mLs. I just want to verify that we're correct.
Well, I'll do
'Cause-
the math, but that should be right.
Okay.
I thought you was gonna say the number of 15. That was one that would.
Yeah, number 5 was 5.
Okay, good. So then number 15 you're having? Yeah, number 15. No, that one was easy for us. Number 10, the ones that I marked on my paper, was 5, 9, and 10.
This is also desired over half.
Did you get 15 mLs per hour?
Well, I didn't do the math, but it's desired over half. So if that's what you did, you should have the right answer.
Okay, that's what we did. Okay, good. Because it was,
15
yes,
and
okay.
10 should be 10.
Okay, good. All right. Because we just for some reason there was something going that we couldn't figure it out.
All right. Was
Okay.
there any other ones on here that anybody didn't understand on this one or the 5-question one?
What about number 3?
Okay. Number 3 is also desired over half. So you see how it says give blank mLs here? That tells you it's a desired over half question. Now, what is your supply on hand here?
1 gram. So you gotta.
No,
No.
500 mgim.
no, 500
Oh,
mgim is your
285.
order. That's your desired dose.
What did you
So-
Your
ask?
supply
So we
on
have to
hand is
convert.
whatever your yield, when you reconstitute, okay? Your supply on hand is either going to be what your yield is, what your final concentration is, or what your final solution is. That's what you have on hand. So that should have been 500 divided by 285.
Oh,
That's
So
it.
we don't.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
So I thought we were going to convert the gram.
You
So-
already converted. So usually when you reconstitute, okay, usually you have a powder and you add a liquid to it.
Mhm.
And your directions will usually tell you if you add this, this is what you'll end up with. So when you added the water to this 1 gram, you ended up with 285 milligrams per ml. That's your final concentration. So that's your supply on hand.
oh my gosh.
So Miss Loach, was
When
the
you add
answer
the
2
water
ml?
or the D5 or whatever you add to that powder, it changes the constitution of it. It changes how many milligrams you have per ml. Because before you just had 1 gram of powder, but now you added water to it and you diluted it. So it changed to this 285 milligram per ml.
So
So-
would the answer be 2 ml?
I didn't do the
285, I
math, but
think.
if you put 500 over 285 and multiplied it by 1,
So 285. How did you get 285? So this 1 gram is 1,000.
how'd you get to 285? The answer here would be 1.8.
Yeah, 1.8.
Yeah, I wanted
Okay,
to.
God.
Oh, yes, 1.8.
So whenever there's
Because
any,
Not
285
285.
here is what you have on hand, and this is just desired over half. This is your desired dose. This is what you're left with on hand once you do the reconstitution.
so the order reads 500. That's the order, 500, and then you put that over the yield, whatever it yielded once you
It
mixed
might
it.
not say yield. And I'm trying to
Mm.
tell you that, so open those ears. It might say yield. It might say final concentration. You're left with
Okay.
this supply on hand.
Okay.
Miss Loach, you have any more questions with the problem with these type of
With
questions?
reconstitution,
Yes.
yes.
Can we
Can
do
you
that?
can you send it to us, please, so we can practice? Thank you. I did this so wrong. I didn't think.
So in this case, all those extra number is just to see if we really know what we're doing.
No, it's not. That's the way it comes. Y'all keep trying to think there's fluff in there or that we're putting extra stuff in there. That's the way it comes on the floor. You have to understand how to read it, what you're getting, and how to dose it out.
Can I
This is
ask
how
one
it
question
comes.
when you're done?
It's going to come in a powder, and it's going to
Yes.
come with a syringe, and it's going to
Right.
come with directions, and it's going to say, nurse, in order to give this, and it might give you different reconstitutions to do, because if you're giving it for an ear infection versus something other kind of infection, the reconstitution factor might be different. You have to read that all in the directions and then understand what you've ended up with. So when you dose it out, you dose it right.
Mhm. Okay. I
Okay.
have one question. So the reconstitution, right? The 285, did you get 1.75 and do we have to round that to 1.8
That's
ml?
correct.
Okay.
I'm
Good
not the
morning.
only
What
one that don't
number
get
are we
it.
on?
Get it.
What number
Well,
are we?
I'm just finishing up with health assessment, and I'm about to start Jerry in 1 second.
Oh,
Jerry
okay.
and Search, okay?
Oh, we have different times to log in.
Correct.
What time is Jerry?
Jerry is about to start in 1 second. I was just finishing with them on their last question.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm going to send this reconstitution packet to you guys, okay?
Okay.
All
It's
right.
got the answers on it. All right, but try to see if you can figure out. All you want to do is just figure out how many mLs you would administer, which is the third question. Can you see the paper on my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so that's what I'm going to send you, okay? You want to be able to, and it's asking you some other questions, so see if you can figure it out.
Right.
We don't see no paper on your screen. This is the question that we was working on.
Okay, I'm going to send you the paper then.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.